Hello, my name is Maya Cowan, and I'm a senior at Carmel High School. I'll be answering some questions for Dee Dee and Elias's project centered around sexism in Carmel. So here we go. The first question is, what is sexism to you? And to me, sexism has always been I've always considered it to be the discrimination against a person, be it a woman or a man, simply on account of their gender. And I've always thought it was pretty clear cut. I didn't think men were excluded from sexism because it can be apparent, and there have been instances when that has been the case. The second question is, where/when did you first hear or learn about sexism? And I feel like there are kind of two answers to that question. So, part of me wants to say I've always been aware. I think most women, and feel free to disagree with me, but they're conscious of the fact that sexism exists, or that there's a discrepancy in the way in certain spaces women are treated. And I've always been aware of, there were a set of guidelines that I should follow that maybe my brothers didn't have to adhere to, or certain things like that, small things as a child that I picked up on. And so I feel like I've always kind of known, but then I feel like it was exacerbated by an instance in the sixth grade when I kind of just fell down this feminism rabbit hole, and I became very interested in women's rights and finding out the issues that specifically affected women. And I know, like, we use sexism to define how women are treated, how women are viewed simply by their race. And I still believe that's the case, but I think there are a lot of limitations to feminism that have kind of pushed me away from it. So the next question is, do you see sexism in your school or workplace? And I can honestly say I don't feel like I've seen sexist behavior. I don't feel like I've been treated unfairly on account of my sex. I don't feel like my male counterparts were getting more attention, or um, teachers were looking for more out of me, or anything like that. I feel like I was equally treated, especially when it comes to sex and gender. And so I can't say that I had a sexist encounter at Carmel. However, I feel the need to emphasize that just because I haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Um, I'm not erasing the fact that maybe somebody else has experienced it. In fact, I think you need to ask a lot more people to get a clear cut answer about that. But I very fortunately have never experienced that here at Carmel. So the next question is, ask me to describe the way sexism feels if I've ever experienced it. And though I can say I I haven't experienced it at Carmel, I think I have experienced it just in general. Um, and it's such a terrible feeling. Like, you're being minimized and devalued and cast off simply because of your sex, and I think it's just ridiculous. I also think that in my personal experience, I I tend to, when I look back on instances that could be considered sexist and things were very clearly sexist, I have a way of like trivializing it and making it seem as though it was insignificant, or I kind of give the people who treated me badly the benefit of the doubt. And I don't know why that is the case. But I'm aware of the fact that now that is something that I've experienced, and that is something that I kind of victim shame myself for. And I think that um, it's important to to not do that, but of course that's a lot more easily said than done. And so I think we do really need to, if you have experienced sexism, take a look at how it has affected you. If you're not sure if it's sexism, I mean, maybe have a conversation with close loved ones, see how experiences have made you feel, you know. I think that's very important. Um, the next question asks, do you believe that sexism has a major impact on your daily life? And I can say right now, my daily life does not really consist of too much sexism or any. Quite honestly, my daily life consists of me going to virtual schooling, mainly. But I mean, of course, I'm exposed to the internet. I have friends who are outside and living their lives, and I do believe that there is an impact, um, but I don't believe it's. I feel like it's. I'd like to say that here in the 21st century, in the year 2021, we have come a long way, especially with having read the history and looked at how specifically women were oppressed in the past and comparing it to now. I think we've come a significant way. And though I think um, reactions like being I don't know, surprised that women are capable of doing certain things, or even so recently as just getting our first female vice president. I think that's a little astonishing when we think about it a little bit, but I don't think that sexism is holding us back in any way. I think that a lot of uh, people are given the platform to really speak out at this point, especially with social media. I think social media is really a double-edged sword because it has helped to give people this platform to speak out against sexist encounters, but also it can be a really terrible place sometimes because there can be, you can find very quite a few sexist people on social media. Moving on. If you have experienced sexism, would you mind explaining it? And okay, the instance that comes to my mind immediately is the fact that last year I was in a that last summer I was in a club, and it was a government club. It was a club centered around students who were young activists, interested in policy, students who were really just in that field and wanted to learn more about it. And so it was student led, and I remember just being silenced by my male peers and having my opinions be rendered unimportant, having them not believe that what I said had value, you know. And can that be attributed to my sex? Quite possibly. I was one of the only girls there, and can that be attributed to my race? Potentially, but that's a whole different story. Um, but I do think it's really important to like pinpoint encounters when we have been made to feel um, just devalued, you know, made to feel like we weren't important, and we could clearly see that that our gender was a factor, you know, that that was something that separated you from most people. So I think it's really, while some people might not see that as an important occurrence or something that could be devastating, I think it is, simply because being put in a position where you're told that what you say doesn't matter, doesn't hold weight, isn't worthy of an audience is just a really shitty thing to do to somebody. And you know, it really messes with them, and their self-esteem, you know. And could it have been just a crappy bunch of just boys who thought it was an all boys club and who thought they were all high and mighty? Potentially. But I don't discount it because I know it exists. And so that's something that like weighs on you after a while. Well, that's all the questions we've got for today. Yeah, thanks. Bye.